computer is not on?
No.
Gibson, this should be it.
So the coffee break is in 12 minutes, right? Sorry? Yeah. The coffee break is in 12 minutes already?
It's going to be in
9:30.
The what?
9:30?
Yeah, in minus 20, like 20 to 10.
Okay.
Coffee break?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Quarter to, so we do quarter to 10.
Great. Donc pause café, ce sera à 10h moins le quart jusqu'à 10h. On va commencer avec Neos et je vais donc donner la parole à Christian.
Yes, good morning everybody. Hope you are refreshed after the nice evening yesterday and have some brain power left to grasp all the things I want to tell you. We will see how far we get. I mean, we have 1.5 hours. That's quite a lot of time to explain stuff. My idea is to break this into 3 parts. First, I will explain some of the technical concepts of Neos. When you heard my talk yesterday, you have already heard some of that, but I want to go into more detail today. Probably we won't make that until the break, so we will stop in the middle, have the coffee break, then do some more technical foundations. Then in the second part, I want to show you some actual code from Neos. So show you how a website with Neos is built, the demo website, how the TypoScript looks like, how the templates look like, what you can do. And the third part will be foundation of Neos, the flow framework, because if you look at the code in the repositories, the code of the flow framework and every other code we use for Neos, then the flow framework is a huge bunch of code compared to Neos. So lots of functionality we have in Neos come from flow, from the framework. So it's important to know the framework too. And that's why I want to dedicate the third part of my talk to flow and some of the concepts we have in flow. Because that's the most technical part, I thought I put it to the end, because everyone that isn't interested so much into programming could leave then after 2/3 of the talk. I guess that makes most sense for everybody. So let's get started. This is a short overview over all the technologies we have in Neos. Underneath you see flow. That's the big block we will have later on. And here we have the Typo3 content repository. That's one of the main concepts we have in Neos. I will talk about that here. TypoScript and EEL, also both very important technologies for Neos. I will also explain them. Fluid, probably everyone knows already from Typo3 CMS, but I will also talk a bit about Fluid. And these 3 parts here I will just quickly explain because I don't want to touch them in the talk. We have a form framework for flow. It works also just with flow applications, and it's a building system for any type of web form you need. And we use it in the backend. We use it for our setup tool. This is the second part, the setup tool. We have an installation tool like in Typo3 CMS, of course. And this setup tool is, again, because we try to make all our technologies as flexible as possible, this setup tool is not only for Neos, but if you write a flow application, you can use the setup tool to set up your own flow application. And the third part is expose, which will be somehow similar to the list module in Typo3 CMS. But expose is currently not in finished state, it works, but I don't have an installation to show it because it still has quite some bugs. So this is something for the future. We might not include it in the 1.0 version because we think the main part of Neos is content editing, and that can work without Expose. But we are working on it, and Expose will be very flexible and configurable, so you can have a list view of your data in any kind you like. And the good part is the configuration of this list view will be the same type of script that you use for front-end rendering. So you just learn one type of script, and that works back-end and front-end. So no tsconfig or something else. Okay, so let's get started. I want to have a quick explanation about implementing websites and the comparison between Typo 3 CMS, because that's what you know, and Neos. So let's look at how we implement a website with Typo 3. We start with the install tool. Everyone knows this one. It's pretty huge. If you look at all the options in there, it's really a lot of configuration you can do and sometimes have to do. After that, you create your HTML template for your website. And then there are 3 ways to go on. And I guess every one of you uses a different way of those 3. All ways are valid and always make sense. So we have the classic templating that everyone knows because quite some extensions use it too. It's marker based. So we insert some markers in our template and replace them dynamically via TypoScript. That's the most simple way and the default way in Typo 3 CMS we have. Then we have Templar Voila. I guess many of you know that too. The mapping tool is the most prominent thing of Templar Voila. It's pretty cool to use it. But Templar Voila, on the other hand, had some technical problems in the past. And then there's the third way, the fluid template. And there are many different ways how to use the fluid template. You can use the FedEx framework. You can use grid elements together with fluid templates. All those 3 ways are possible with Typo 3. And probably, at least for me as a freelancer, you have to learn all 3 ways. Because the classic way you need for old Py-based extensions, because they use it too. Templar Voila, some clients use it, so you have to learn how to use it if you get a project with Templar Voila. And fluid templates also because it's the new way. X-Base extensions use it, so you have to learn all the 3 ways. Pretty complicated, I would say. And then you start writing TypoScript. All this wonderful TypoScript, you all know all this stuff. I will get into a bit of detail here. This is a typical page configuration. And we see directly one of the problems with the TypoScript. Look at this. Lower camel case, pretty nice. But then here, underscore, no camel case. Nothing, no underscore, no camel case, just one word. Underscore and camel case. So how do I know how this configuration option is called? I need to look it up in the reference. There's no other way. And the reference is huge. If you know the TypoScript reference, it's so big. You can do a lot of things, but you have to look them up. Everyone who tells me that he knows everything for a website out of his mind, I don't. I can't write, I can write page equals page and some stuff and create a website, but not a modern, functioning website with correct headers and correct doc type and everything. That is impossible to know out of your head, unless you do it every day, maybe. So that's also pretty complicated and not very easy for starters to get on with. So then you create some pages and add some dummy content, and you end up with something like this. And you have some website to test and show your client. But let's look at the details. What did you do there? What did you do with your folders, with your files, with your templates, your images, your JavaScript, your CSS? Did you put them in file admin maybe? Does work, why not? Put them in file admin. create some custom folder, like templates, somewhere on the hard disk. Does work. Why not? Create an extension maybe, put everything in there. Very nice. Does work. So which way did you choose? Probably if I ask around, all of those 3 ways will show up somehow. And that's also a problem for newcomers and for people that get projects from other agencies, because you have to search for those information. You have to look, where are the files, where is the template, where is the JavaScript, where is the CSS, and where is the TypoScript. Is it in the root template in the database? Is it in some file in an extension, some file in the file admin? I have to search. So of course that's a lot of freedom, but is it really necessary to have that freedom? I mean, it's nice to choose between TypoScript in database and TypoScript in files and in lots of folders, but what use do I have from that? Actually, not so much. So let's look at Neos. We start with the installation, obviously. We have also an install tool. It's pretty simple. You enter the database settings and administration user credentials. That's it. Probably it won't grow much more because we try to auto-detect as much as possible. So we try to keep the setup tool as slim as possible to just get a running installation and auto-detect all the server information and the settings for images and all that. And then you create a site package. And the site package contains everything related to your website, which helps a lot to find things for your website. It also enables you to do theming of Neos, because a site package is a theme. It contains everything related to one website design. So let's have a quick look at how a site package looks like. It will be called something like My Company, My Site. That's up to you. Our convention in the Neos team is to say my company is the company that creates the website, so the agency, and my website is usually the domain the website will run under. But that's up to you, whatever makes sense for you. So this is a typical flow package. I will talk about that later. And there are a few folders that are default in flow packages: classes, configuration, and resources. This is also something you know from XSpace extensions. And the resources folder is the most important in the site package, because almost anything related to a site is in the resources folder. So the resources is public and private, obviously. Public is everything that is accessible from the outside by a browser. So the images in your website, the style sheets in your website, the JavaScript in your website. And private is everything that is just for the Neos itself. So Neos uses those files. That is the fluid template. Maybe you have SAS files or less files. Those go into private because they are not accessible by the browser. And also TypoScript goes into private. So yes, public resources, private resources. And there is one important thing. In private, we also have a content folder. So what's that, a content folder? Doesn't make sense. Content is in the database. Yes, that's true. It's in the content repository in the database. But in the content folder, you can have a sites XML. And this file can contain a full website, pages and content structure. It's an XML structure. You can export and import this structure from Neos. So if you created a website with Neos, you can also export it to install the package with the content on another server. But the important thing is you can also create it by hand, obviously. And we have a Kickstarter to create such a XML for you. And the nice thing about that is that you can provide dummy content for your website by default. So the idea is that you have a company workflow, your agency is creating websites, and obviously for each website that your agency creates, you need to show something to the client in the first place, maybe without having any information about the content. So you create some default sites XML for your client's websites, and you use it for every new client website, so you have some dummy pages and content to show your client. Maybe all the different content types, one below each other, so you can show how the CSS works. That makes it pretty easy to test website templates. And now, together with this, with the structure, you see this is all nodes. We have to talk about the content repository. And the content repository, I explained it already yesterday, it's based on the Java content repository. It's an industry standard in the Java world for delivering and storing content. So many Java content management systems use Java content repository. And the idea was to create something similar, but of course it should be in PHP and it should make sense for PHP. Java is in itself a language that uses lots of resources and doesn't care too much about resources actually. And the Java content repository is just the same. It just doesn't care too much about the amount of content and the size of the database. It just does stuff. So one example is that the Java content repository, if you create a workspace, it copies the full website. It doesn't care how big the website is, and if you just want to change one page in your workspace, it just copies the full website. It doesn't care. That won't work for a PHP content management system, because usually you're on a shared host, you have limited resources, so we had to take some changes in the standard, and we made our Typo3 content repository, which is very similar to the Java content repository, and we are also in a group of other PHP frameworks that have similar ideas to create a PHP content repository standard that should become an industry standard at some point. So everything in a content repository is a node. A node is just one point in a tree structure. Everything in the content repository is in this tree structure, and one node is just one point in the tree structure, and it can be anything. So this is some random node structure for a website. We have the site root. Above here would be the content repository root, but that is really the top level that is just technically there, because obviously Neos can have multiple websites in one installation, like Typo3 CMS can. So you could have another site root down below here. And in the site root you have a page or multiple pages. Inside a page can be, again, a page, of course. And a page has usually at least one content section. And this is new to Neos. You don't see this in Typo3 CMS. In Typo3 CMS, you have a page and a content element. And in between, you have the connection of colpos, if you know that technical thing. Or in Templar Voila, you do the mapping of a content position and have it in the XML in the end. But we have this tree-like structure. So we can nest, and we use the content section to define an area of content on your web page. So this page has just one main content section. You can have as well two content sections in your page to have a main content section and a sidebar. 3, 4, up to you. It's just configuration. Every page in your website can have a different amount of content sections. So in the content section, you have a content element. You can have representations of domain models if you need them. But usually it's content elements. And the interesting thing is this all can be nested unlimited. So a content element can again have a content section. And a content section can again have a content element. And again a content section. And again a content element. And so on and so on and so on. That means we can easily create a multi-column content element by having a content element that actually has 2 or 3 content sections inside. So that makes a 2 or 3 column content element. I will show you the actual code later on in the code section of the talk. So then I guess it becomes a bit more clear. But that's the structure we have in the content repository. Yeah, the infinite nesting, you can go on with this. And as we have this tree structure, every node can be addressed by a path. So we can exactly say, this is the site root. So we have sites, all my websites are in sites. Typo3org is one of the websites. That's my site root then. Then I have a website home here, a page, a subpage under home. Then I have the content section in the subpage. It's the main content section. And then I have a content element, text1. So this is the path that addresses one exact content element on a specific page. And such a path is available for every single content element on your website. So we know exactly how deep it is nested and how to access it. Obviously, those names are nice names. They can be hashes as well. I mean, technically, some of them are hashes, but for you, it doesn't care. You have a path. You can use this path to address one content element. And also, this enables us to directly have something like real URL. So by default, all Neos URLs are speaking URLs because we just use the node path of the page. So if I want to see the subpage here, my URL is domain/home/subpage.html. Because from the path we know, okay, we are in the website typo3org because that's the domain, and then we have home/subpage, so that's the page I want to render. And a node is basically just some information in the tree, but we have some meta information for such a node. And there's one important or two important things for this meta information. The meta information we call node context. One is obviously language. So you will want to have multi-language websites at some point. So a node gets the language as a meta information. You see here, that's the home page. It's just available in English. And we have a main content section also only available in English. But then we have a site section here. And it's available in English or in German. So the system can decide, depending on the context, which of those to choose. So here we have the same path, obviously, typo3org, homepage, site, but two nodes that have the same path. But it's no problem because we know which language to choose. So the path and the context information will tell us exactly which node to render. If there is no context, we can, of course, create some default, like, okay, my website is English default. So that's how you have different languages. And the other thing is we have built-in workspace support. So we see here some live workspace. We have homepage section main content with some dummy text. This is my workspace. And currently, everything is the same. So on a technical level, there is just this structure in the database. This doesn't exist. It's virtual. It will tell me, okay, you have this structure. It's your workspace, but it's just virtual. It actually shows me the content of this because I didn't change anything. Why should we copy the content if I didn't change anything in it? So now I start writing my real content text here. And at that point, this node will be copied into your workspace. So only this single node is in your workspace. And if you access this, we also know, again, from the context, if you're logged in, for example, and have chosen to see your workspace, that we need to go this route, typo3org homepage section main content, but in my workspace and not in the default workspace. So Neos has workspaces by default. And every change in content you make in Neos is always in your personal workspace. As soon as you're logged in, you are in your personal workspace. No change is made to the live website. If you change something, the publishing will be enabled, and you can publish the website directly. So you can change some paragraph, click publish, and it's live. So it's just one click to make it live. But you can as well change the whole website and then click publish, and everything is published at once. So you never change the live website, you never break the live website because you can preview all the content before you actually publish it to the live website. And also this will enable us in the future to have more complicated workflows, like a group workspace in between here, and maybe a second group workspace, and then we can go from the bottom up and look, okay, do you have changes in your workspace? No. Do you have changes in the group workspace? No. Do you have changes in this workspace? Yes. Okay, then we take this one. Otherwise, we go all the way up to the live website and show you this content. And this flexible structure in the node repository, remember all this is a node. Just the type of the node defines what it is and how it works and what kind of properties it has. Is configuration. So all the node types are configuration. And you can create custom content types, custom node types. That's really up to you. It's just configuration. Also the default types, like the page, the text element, the image element, are all just configuration. You can look into our code, check the configuration we made, adjust the configuration in your site. If your page always needs 2 image elements because you have a header and a footer image in your website, no problem. You just change the configuration for the page and add 2 image elements, 2 image properties, and all your pages will have 2 images. You can, of course, create new page types and new content types as well. So it's very easy to create custom content elements like a flexible content element, especially with the nesting and the multi-column. I will show you some of the content type definitions later on and explain a bit how they work. It's really pretty easy to create new content types. We have a project with Google Summer of Code this year to have a graphical editor for the content types. So at some future point, hopefully you can go in and say, okay, I need a text and a headline and an image and a light like this. And this is my template. And this is my new content element then. So that will be the future outlook, how we want to have it. Okay, this is about the node repository. Next point is TypoScript, but I guess we earned some coffee now. So let's have a break.
Merci beaucoup, Christian. Il y a encore des enveloppes qui n'ont pas été retirées, donc pour ça, je vous invite à vous rapprocher d'Alain, qui n'est plus dans la salle, mais qui était là-bas dans le fond. Il a une caisse bleue avec les enveloppes qui vous permettent d'avoir vos codes Wi-Fi et vos tickets de repas. Il reste encore aussi quelques places pour la soirée croisière sur le Libellule ce soir. Donc profitez-en, ceux qui ne sont pas encore inscrits. Il est possible de s'inscrire à la dernière minute, mais il va falloir vraiment se dépêcher. C'est maintenant ou jamais. Anything else, Christian? Oui, on va faire la pause café là.
Non, les questions, les questions.
Oui.
Yes, good point. Sorry, I didn't say it at the beginning, but I'm open to questions at any time. Just interrupt me, cry, scream, hit me with something, shoot at me, I don't know. Make yourself visible and I will try to answer your question.
I have a lot of questions.
Yes, of course.
After.
We can do it afterwards, sure. But if you have some pressing question, like I need to know this.
Could you, for example, tell me, please, could you tell me, please, you tell us what is one node? Is it a site? Is it a section? Is it page? Is it content? What is it one node? For example, you could make an analogy in Drupal or is publish the node, its content.
Yeah.
Different types of contents. Here, I didn't understand clearly one node, what is it?
Okay, all of the blocks I showed is exactly one node. So a node can be a page or a content element or a website. It's everything is a node, and it just depends on the content, on the type of the node, what it is exactly.
So if there is different types of nodes, if there is a common API, common way to manage nodes and to make operation with children.
Yeah, there is. There is a common API, so you create a page the same way as you create content from the API. It's no different, and the configuration will tell the system what kind of node it is. So,
and for example, if you will remember your file is XML,
Yep.
content folder, we could see node
Yeah.
there. If it's possible to make content migration after initial import, for example, after the live, after
Yep.
the modification of content in the database, is it possible to make synchronization via just, I don't know, UUID?
Yes.
And because in XML I didn't saw actually any examples of identifiers.
There are UUIDs. Wait.
Page ID, node ID, I don't know.
No, okay. This example doesn't have UUID. You can provide a UUID if you have one. So if we export a website, an existing one, you have UUIDs for all the content elements. But you can create a file without UUID, then the system will create a new one for you. So, but you can give a UUID, and then we know, okay, this is this content element, and we can synchronize it. Yes.
Okay, and if I understand clearly, it works like actually T3D works.
Like what?
T3D,
Yes, similar. Yes, yes. And there is a project to create a converter from T3D XML to this one. Yes.
Okay, it's a great project, I think. So we could make some interoperability.
Yes, operable.
And to extract our own sites and to import
Yeah,
the Neos.
exactly. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Merci. Pour ceux qui n'ont pas leur t-shirt aussi, pareil, pendant la pause, rapprochez-vous d'Alain qui va vous donner le t-shirt à votre taille.
D'avoir quelque chose qui c'est frais, tu vois, c'est un peu comme Casper, il a fait un méga truc complexe et les gens ils ont un petit peu peur de s'imposer, tu vois, c'est comme ça, tu vois. Ils font quelque chose, mais c'est, tu vois, c'est comme, peut-être c'est comme ça, tu vois, c'est pas comme ça, tu vois. Mais je sais pas, il y a toujours des discussions, tu vois, on cherche moyen. Finalement, je vois plutôt, on peut dire, des influences différentes qui ne sont pas forcément cohérentes entre bien que le concept de node, tu vois, je sais pas, pour moi, ça sert pas à grand chose, juste toutes les nodes. Parce que finalement, il y a une partie de structure et il y a une partie de contenu ici dans toutes les notes, donc on peut les relationner. Parce que note, c'est quoi? Note, si on peut prendre les théories de graphes, c'est un point, un point, un point, un point. Et les relations entre les notes. Donc, en plus, ça s'appelle les codes. Donc, en gros, node, ça serait bien de dire qu'on attache le node comme ça, tu vois, c'est une méthode d'analogie. Tu verras plutôt toutes les contenus et après on trouve des bien ça. Oui, node, c'est bien, tu vois.
déjà descendu.
Du coup, je fais là-bas, je notais tout ça ici. Oui, mais j'ai pas pu le. Oui, sinon, s'il vous plaît. Comme ça, quand tu écris, tu réfléchis un peu plus. Tu es moins concentré sur l'œuvre parce que je te regarde quand tu dessines.
Si t'arrives à te relayer. Si tu arrives à te relayer. Moi je le fais, je regarde.
Ouais.
Voilà, je fais tout.
Au moment d'écriture, tu.
Si je reprends un peu, je tape.
Ok. Mais après, c'est à toi de choisir ce que tu vas écrire. C'est pas que. Une fille que je voudrais que tu regardes, c'est pas le prénom qui ne représente pas, c'est très bien. Ils sont. En gros, c'est comme. C'est un type de bouton. C'est pour jouer les silver. C'est comme tu fais ça, il y a des constantes et il y a des figures. Ici, tu peux regarder. Et tu as des nombres sur les silver. Et sur les silver, ça s'appelle un seuil. Sur le master, tu peux lancer des procédures stamp. Tu peux plier des silver très rapidement. Tu peux faire des procédures customisées, création de numéros, tout ça. Tout ça c'est fait pour syntaxe simple. Et il y a encore des gabarits de substitution de variables régulières. En gros, c'est un peu comme l'autre bash.
C'est un peu abstrait avec une script bash.
Oui, mais plus propre. Oui, oui. Et en plus, il y a d'autres avantages de cette technologie. Par exemple, c'est possible de lancer les scripts chaque 2 secondes. Tu vois, c'est possible de créer des statistiques.
C'est sympa.
Tu peux faire plusieurs serveurs.
Et après, tu es interopérable avec quoi? Au final, le SSH?
Oui, il y a un SSH, il y a aussi